G'day guys, this is Tia and welcome back to another Fallout 76 video. Today I'm going to be making a dedicated video where I'm going to be pleading my case with Bethesda and begging for them to add a new boss into the game. I have a lot of brand new boss fight ideas that I think would fit perfectly into this game as it stands right now, but there is one in particular that I just think is too good and fun that it would be an absolute waste for me to not talk about it. So, I'm going to. I am of course talking about none other than Liberty Prime. In this video, I will walk you through exactly how this boss fight event would function in my mind and how I think it should work and go down. So let's not waste any time and get straight into it. So yeah, let's talk about it. I am suggesting that Bethesda should introduce Liberty Prime as a boss fight event in 76. Now I know what you're probably thinking. Tia, how the fuck is that gonna work? What are you talking about? This idea is trash, it's never gonna happen. Well, just hold on a second there, buckaroo. Let me fucking explain, alright? This is an idea I've rattled off multiple times during my streams and I've had in my head for a bloody long time. So just give me a chance and let me walk you through exactly how this would not only work, but would be perfect for this game. Okay, so picture this. We have so many vaults in Appalachia that have never been able to be explored. Let's say, for example, Vault 63 over in the Ash Heap. Vault 63 will be our destination for where this boss spawns. So, just think about it. What if Vault 63 was a military vault that had access to simulation pods and simulation lounges exactly like the vaults in Fallout 3 where you completed the Tranquility Lane quest and met Dr. Braun? What if the military partnered with Vault-Tec because they needed the simulation technology to simulate and test exactly how Liberty Prime would function in battle against the Red Chinese menace? I mean, think about it. In the lore of the game, Liberty Prime was never finished and was never activated. The government could never figure out the power consumption problem. Liberty Prime was only ever activated for the first time during the events of Fallout 3, almost 200 years after the war ended. So, it would make sense and would stand to reason that the military would need to simulate Liberty Prime and see what he is capable of before finishing and deploying him into battle against the Chinese. Now, why this whole thing would be taking place in Appalachia instead of DC or some other high-value place, I can't answer that, but let's just roll with it for the sake of getting this into the game. Anyway, now that that concept is explained, let's circle back to how this would work logistically in-game. Imagine you had to launch a nuke at Vault 63 or whatever vault or military location this happened to be taking place at. The nuke opens the door, you walk through it, and it's an eerie sight. A boneyard full of military corpses, skeletons, and Vault-Tec personnel. The people inside have been trapped in here since the Great War 20 plus years ago. There are signs of infighting and destroyed terminals and debris throughout the vault. As you make your way out of the main entrance, you pass through a one-way hallway lined with scanning technology. You, your entire inventory, your afflictions, mutations, and perks are all scanned by the system, recorded, copied, and saved. For now, this confuses you. You continue onwards. You make your way through the hallway into a great big atrium with 8 Tranquility Lounger-styled simulation pods. You and your instance of 7 other players enter these pods and enter the Liberty Prime battle simulation in none other than Anchorage, Alaska. The exact place Liberty Prime was intended to be deployed before the unfateful day of the Great War. It is here you will be simulated into a snowy, beautiful landscape inside of a large open military-esque battlefield. You're granted a moment or two to take in the scenery and to just absorb the fact that you're in a simulation again in Fallout. When all of a sudden a 10-second countdown starts. Liberty Prime is powering up for the simulation to start. But something is wrong. The coding in the simulation must not have been working properly due to the fighting between the military soldiers inside the actual vault. And as a result, the simulation is damaged. Instead of Liberty Prime being tested against the Chinese, he's being tested against you and your fellow vault dwellers. And that's when you hear it.
Liberty Prime is online. All systems nominal. Weapons hot. Mission: the destruction of any and all Chinese communists.
Prime is online and ready for battle. He starts launching his mini nuclear warheads like they are footballs, shooting his classic I-beam lasers and kicking and stomping on you and the other 7 players in this boss fight event, all while spouting his classic anti-communism propaganda. Now, by no means will this be an easy fight. I picture Liberty Prime having at least 50,000 health points and 85% damage negation, and around 500 damage resistance and 400 energy, fire, cryo, and other elemental resistances. Or at least something to that effect. After all, Liberty Prime is immortal and unkillable to the player in all of his previous appearances in Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. So, I think he needs to be a great challenge for the player, as a kind of homage if nothing else. Now, Liberty Prime is a tough foe with a lot of powerful attacks. It is no easy fight by any stretch of the imagination. He also has cannon fodder simulated classic military turrets that appear on elevated surfaces and platforms throughout the battlefield, presenting you with a little bit more challenge and some cannon fodder. After Prime is finally defeated, a spectacular death animation will play. You are given a chance to loot and explore for about 2 minutes before being automatically transported back to the vault and outside of the simulation. You have beaten the new boss event, and it is over. So yeah, that's my Liberty Prime boss fight idea, ladies and gentlemen. In my head, the Liberty Prime in-game model would be an updated high-res version of his Fallout 3 appearance, instead of his lackluster, weird-looking Fallout 4 in-game model, for obvious canonical reasons. And obviously, the inside of the vault would function the same way the colossal Problem Earl Williams boss fight functions. You'd have an instance location of 8 players and a countdown timer of at least 4 minutes after the door is opened via a nuke launch. You'd walk in, get you and your items and your entire stats, statistics, everything gets scanned so it's in the system and can be simulated, which in reality doesn't do anything. It doesn't copy your stuff. There's no chance of it being duped, nothing like that. It's just purely a way to explain why you are able to fight Prime in a simulation with all of your chosen gear, mutations, and perks from the real world. Anyway, you'd hop in the simulation lounger pod and be transported to the snowbound war site of Anchorage, Alaska to face off against the death machine that is Liberty Prime. I'm not sure exactly what the rewards should be, but fuck me, they should be worth it. I'm talking gold bullion, treasury notes, 3-star legendary items from killing Liberty Prime himself and from completing the event, legendary modules, cores, improved repair kits, flux, circuits, fiber optics, other junk items that robots drop, unique skins for weapons and armor, unique apparel, unique camp plans, all of the 9 yards. Just give us all of the good rewards. Now, I sincerely believe 100% that this boss event, exactly as I've described, will be an instant fan favorite and classic for years to come if done correctly. Make it happen, Bethesda. And there we go. That's my suggestion. Liberty Prime as a permanent new boss in 76. We all know this game is desperate for new bosses and new boss content. After 3 years, we have only ever had 2 bosses. At the moment, one of them is from the base game, the Scorched Beast Queen, and another was added in later, Earl Williams. And I guess you could kind of count the Imposter Sheepscorch, but in my mind that's more of a mini-boss type thing. Look, this game needs more bosses. If not this Liberty Prime idea, then what can Bethesda do? Well, there's plenty of options. They could rework the Blackburn Behemoth into an actual endgame boss event. They could expand on the Stranglerheart Affliction and introduce a Stranglerheart core boss or something to that effect. Or they could use the Interloper from the Lucky Hole Mine as a boss or mini-boss event. Maybe a proper giant Mirelurk Queen boss as a way to pay homage to all of us that got tricked by the Red Death Mirelurk in Fallout 4 in Far Harbor. I don't know, man. There are just so many options in this game for boss events, and Bethesda need to capitalize on it right bloody now. So yeah, this is my idea. This is straight from the noggin, straight off the dome. But like all good ideas, like all of my good ideas I've suggested in the past, it will most likely fall on deaf ears and probably not happen. But yeah, share this around, I guess, and maybe get the word out, or share this idea in general out, or share out the notion that we want more bosses, and maybe Bethesda will listen. We do have on the roadmap coming in the future something called regional bosses, so I think they do have that planned. They do have the idea to add more bosses to the game. We just don't know what yet, and I'm hoping it is something that I have suggested in this video. That's going to do it for me. A massive shout out to all my current Patreons and channel members. You're all legends, and thank you for your support. If you'd like to support me further, then consider becoming a Patreon or channel member, or checking out my merch store. We've got a lot of great designs and benefits, so be sure to check that out in the description, along with my other social medias like Discord and Twitter. Subscribe if you're new, and like the video if you enjoyed. I've been Tia, and I'll catch you in the next one. Welcome to Valhalla.